Wow, more and more states are taking a look at the issue of marijuana, medical marijuana, the legalization of recreational marijuana in certain states, and it's creating a tangle of legal issues. Not for the purchasers, though. Well, let me explain. In particular, there are many banks right now that will refuse to deal with businesses that sell pot because the drug remains illegal under federal law, even though some state laws say it's okay to sell. And there are a growing number of financial scams that are targeting people who want to invest in this newly legal industry. There's a lot of money to be made. Joining me now, Doug Burns and Robert Schalk, both are defense attorneys and former prosecutors. Guys, great to have you here.
Thank you.
We're not talking about this topic because it's necessarily fun, but it sure is interesting because, look, it's the birth of an industry,
yes,
and there's few laws on the books for those who are selling it. Maybe there are in terms of prosecution for selling it wrong, but how about making it a business? Robert, let me start with you. You have a suitcase full of cash because most of these businesses have to be on a cash basis because the banks won't give them accounts and they won't give them or allow them to take credit cards. So they're worried about their safety.
Big problems across the board, Jim, because here's what they've done. They've taken a crime of possessing marijuana and they've decriminalized it. Not the worst idea because it will unclog the criminal justice system and allow for law enforcement to focus on bigger things. But what they've prevented in doing is the federal government has not acted enough to allow these individuals to deposit their money in the banks. So what they've done is they've painted a target on these businesses, these people's homes, and their cars who are doing nothing wrong and nothing illegal in their state, we're both former prosecutors and defense attorneys. People who get robbed and burglarized the most. Drug dealers, which they're not anymore, or individuals who deal in large amounts of cash. They can sit on these people's businesses, follow them home, and think about it. Now you're placing law-abiding citizens in jeopardy. On top of that, you're placing law enforcement potentially in more jeopardy because they're going to be dealing with more serious crimes. So all they need to do is address it, allow these institutions to deposit their money, and think about what they can also do. Taxes. I mean, there's so many different things.
A lot of people said legalize it because of taxes. Why, Doug, are banks refusing to take the money of these business owners? And do they have a right? Does a bank have a right to say, I know if it's over a certain dollar amount, like $10,000, they have to report it. But if I walk in there with a shopping bag full of cash, which I'd love to do, can they say, I'm terribly sorry, we're not going to take your deposit?
No, absolutely not. But in this instance, Jamie, they know because they've researched the names of the companies, and now it's open because it's legal. So when somebody comes in from company X that they know is dealing in marijuana, legally under state law, but technically illegally under federal law, they're turning around and saying, wait a minute, we're engaging in accessory to money laundering. You're doing a financial transaction with the byproduct of a crime. Now, the Department of Justice did a memorandum that we talked about, and this memo...
Of course, Doug brings the official document from the Justice Department.
Yes, I did.
Is there guidance in here for business owners?
The guidance is, no, that's the point. They say, we're going to focus on prosecuting marijuana involving minors, marijuana involving firearms, involving moving into a state where it's illegal, but they say nothing about banking.
Right, exactly.
Well, there's also a number of people out there who are saying, hey, you want to get involved in this? It's an opportunity, a business opportunity, so give us your money and we'll make you part of the business. This is also, there are growing scams happening. What have you seen out there that you want to warn people about?
Not surprising. People are trying to, either through stocks or through investment opportunities, commit these types of scams promising certain returns, especially with regards to penny stocks. You see, companies that they're establishing themselves immediately, claiming them to be vending machine companies that are getting an approval to sell marijuana through vending machines. And you see the fluctuation over days where a penny stock can turn to something that's trading at $93 and at the end of the day be worthless because individuals are pumping money into it to get a false return for themselves. And the individuals who think, your regular consumer day traders or people who are doing it at home are investing in it because they don't know any better.
But there are schemes obviously out there, but gambling stocks gaming stocks do very, very well, Doug, and you can buy it in a state where gaming or casinos are illegal, but you can still be part of the business by buying shares.
Yeah, it becomes really tricky in terms of state to state. That's the problem. And, it's just the federal government's going to have to address this thing about banking because otherwise, I'm going to discuss this, you're going to have all kinds of ancillary crime. It started with the proposition that we're going to take the crime out of it by legalizing it, which makes sense. People won't steal in order to be able to buy marijuana, but then they didn't foresee this, and they're going to just have to get on top of this. It's that simple.
It's grown really, really fast. In fact, in Colorado, I saw a report yesterday that the shops are out of supply already. They can't grow it fast enough for the demand.
Surprising.
We'll keep an eye on it. Obviously, a new area of the law and an interesting one, and great to have both of you.
My pleasure.
Here.
Thanks, Jamie.
Eric?
Thanks, Jamie. Well, we'll have some more on the new breaking news on Iran's nuclear program. Tehran saying that it is agreeing to implement the interim deal with world powers. So how, though, will Israel react? They have been very worried. Coming up, we'll talk to former Israeli ambassador to the United Nations, Dan Gilliman, and get his reaction. And as we've been reporting, former Defense Secretary Bob Gates, well, he opens up the curtains at the White House. What really was said behind closed doors, and you know what he has written, is causing shockwaves in Washington.
People gave me a lot of credit when I was in office of being blunt and candid about what I felt about things. I could hardly be any less in writing a book.